Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the mysterious, the panic attack. But before we get into this, I am only talking about this weapon from the perspective of a heavy. Not if it's good for pyro, engineer, or soldier, just this item as if it was only for heavy. So let's just delve right into this. This item has some pretty peculiar stats, which are 50% faster reload time, deploying 50% faster, having fire rate increases, health decreases, and it loads up to 4 shells at a time. Which, the one and only downside is, weapon spread increases as health decreases. So just by looking at this weapon, it seems pretty useful, yeah? 50% faster reload, 50% faster deploy rate, faster fire rate, with the only downside of your spread gets bigger as your health decreases. But what about that hold fire to load up to 4 shells? Well, this is what makes the weapon unique. This weapon works exactly like the Beggar's Bazooka, as you have to hold down left click and then release it to fire. So it allows you to fire faster, but at the cost of having to preemptively hold down left click before a fight. So right off the bat, let's talk about the upsides. It loads significantly faster, however the clip is unloaded when you pull it out. So whenever you want to use this weapon, you have to load it first. So this upside helps counter the downside that you have to load it each and every single time. Another upside is that this weapon deploys 50% faster. So what this does is it basically acts like a one-way faster weapon switch, which is always useful for the heavy. Now this feature is best used with the killing gloves of boxing, as when you get a melee kill, you can whip this out and fire a bunch of crits shots at once. Finally, let's talk about one of the more confusing things. This weapon has a faster fire rate as your health decreases. However, as your health goes down, this weapon's spread increases. Essentially meaning the less health you have, you can do a lot of damage. However, you can only really do this damage at close range, but at the same time you'll still have very low health. So let's talk about ways this weapon will benefit you, which keep in mind it replaces your sandwich, which is already making this a hard sell. So let's see what this item has to offer. This weapon functions like a primary weapon in the sense that you will most likely be holding it out most of the time, simply because you can't pull it out to fire off some finishing blows, as it would require to be loaded every single time before use. So looking at this as a primary weapon, I will be comparing it with other primary weapons, which as we all know are miniguns. So keep that in mind when I talk about the stats and my opinion on it. So with this item being compared to other standard primary weapons, this item does a minuscule amount of damage. This item does your standard shotgun damage, 80 to 90 damage at close range, 10 to 30 at a medium range, and 3 to 10 at a far range. Given it fires rather rapidly depending on your health, so it can do more damage as your health gets lower. But on the flip side, it also gets worse and worse accuracy, which means more and more of your shots that you fire will miss. However, due to the unpredictability of the accuracy and fire rate, I cannot give an accurate measurement of damage when compared to the stock. But it's safe to say that it cannot do 500 to 540 damage per second, which is the standard damage a minigun does at close range. So as a primary, this weapon does not hold up that well when compared to the miniguns, at least not damage-wise. When you compare the mobility of this fast-firing shotgun to that of any minigun, it triumphs massively. With this, when you fire, you move at 77% movement speed, which is the normal speed of a heavy. With a minigun, when you fire it, you move at 37% movement speed, which is a lot slower, thus making you more vulnerable to headshots, backstabs, and really anything that can mess up your day. Another perk in the mobility for this item is that there is a slight rev up. Let me explain. All miniguns have some sort of rev up, even the Tomislav. But with this item, you have a rev up in the sense that you have to load your shots before any skirmish. But due to the way this weapon works, you can load it up and walk around at the normal speed, which cannot be said about any minigun. So to wrap up the comparison with this item is that it is the most mobile primary for the heavy, but has the lowest amount of damage in comparison. What is nice about this weapon is that it functions like a primary, so you can use much more situational miniguns instead, like the Brass Beast. You can use it and not worry all that much because you know you can pull it out for that perfect situation while still having a fairly decent primary. Finally, let's talk about the recommended loadout for this item. I'd recommend to use the Brass Beast due to its perks and strength, which is a field this item lacks in, by the way, the Panic Attack, and the KGB. The KGB, as stated earlier, works really well with a faster deploy rate, as it allows you to maximize your crits. This item is a much more independent set, because when compared to the vanilla heavy, stock, sandwich, and fist of steel, it is a lot less medic friendly. This item set can work without a medic to a certain extent, but it is always nice to have a little healer around you. So in conclusion, if you're someone who enjoys being mobile as a heavy, try this item out. It might be fun for you. But if you're someone who likes to work as a team and be good friends with your medic, I'd advise using something different, preferably something that has a sandwich. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I hope it was informative, or at least entertaining. Have a swell day. Peace out.